Hello, good morning, and welcome to Oracle Workshop Build a Social Media App using Oracle Apex. Thank you so much for joining in today. My name is Chaitanya, and I'm a Director of Product Management and Strategy for Oracle Apex Product Development Team. I also lead the JPAC Product Management Team for Oracle Apex. Today, I'm going to walk you through this workshop, Build a Social Media App using Oracle Apex. This workshop includes multiple hands-on labs, and you can perform all these hands-on labs along with me, or you can just watch me walk you through these hands-on labs. You can perform them later, and you can reach out to us for any questions. On the screen, you see my Twitter handle. So feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, and also reach out to me on LinkedIn for any questions about Apex or Apex in OCI. Now, today's audience might include beginners of Apex or intermediate users or advanced users of Apex. So let's have a quick look at what exactly is Oracle Apex. Apex is the world's most popular low-code platform for enterprise applications. It is Oracle's strategic low-code application development platform and enables you to build secure, scalable enterprise applications with world-class features that can be deployed anywhere, public cloud, private cloud, or on-premises. Apex enables you to build applications 20 times faster with 100 times less code. And you don't need to be an expert in a vast array of technologies to deliver sophisticated solutions using Apex. You just focus on solving the business problem, and Apex takes care of the rest. So let's first understand what this workshop is all about. You will be creating a social media application, and on the screen, you see the screenshot of a fully built application where you see some images. You can also see comments here. You see the like button and also the count of the likes. You can also see a delete option here. So you'll be building a social media application where you can upload pictures and you can like your friends' pictures and delete your pictures if required. You can download this application onto your mobile device, just like how you do other social media applications. So this workshop gives you a great exposure and understanding of low-code application development using Oracle Apex and what a developer can do with Oracle Apex using low-code and relatively simpler approaches. So when a user logs into this social media application, the user can post pictures by selecting and uploading from their local device, along with adding comments. User can also scroll and see what their friends have posted, like their pictures, and keep count on the number of likes on each picture. So this is a pretty simple application to start with, and you can expand the functionality of this application later on. So what exactly we'll be doing in this workshop? There are a couple of hands-on labs as part of this workshop, and you'll be first creating and installing a progressive web application, PWA. Then you'll be building a data model using QuickSQL. You'll be utilizing database constraints to restrict liking the post by the same user more than once. You'll be creating an inline dialog form region, and you'll be using cards region to show the post. You'll be using out-of-the-box processing to insert a new post, and you'll be using dynamic actions and implementing like and delete functionalities. So what do you need for this workshop? You need two things. One is you need Oracle Cloud account, and you also need a hands-on lab guide. So you need to sign up for Oracle Cloud Free tier here, cloud.oracle.com/free. So if you don't have an Oracle Cloud Free tier account yet, please go ahead and then sign up for a free tier account at cloud.oracle.com/free. Then you also need the hands-on lab guide to perform the hands-on labs in this workshop. So please go to apex.oracle.com/go/sm-lab. So you need two things for this workshop. Now, let's move on and then let's first get to the browser and then sign into Oracle Cloud Free Tier account. And also let's review the hands-on lab guide. Now we are in the browser and you see that I have opened the hands-on lab guide in a tab here. So there are multiple labs as part of this workshop, and we already understood what this workshop is all about. So we have get started and then lab 1 to lab 10. So lab 9 and lab 10 are optional. So you can get started first and then perform lab 1 to lab 8. Lab 1, lab 2, lab 3, and lab 4 can be skipped and you can directly jump into lab 5. We'll see in lab 4, there is something called as alternate time saver. So if you don't want to perform lab 1 to lab 4, you can directly download the starter application here, and then you can then move on to lab 5 onwards. But let's first get started. So if you see here, under Get Started, there are three different options to perform these hands-on labs. The first one is Apex Service, which we'll be using as the primary environment for the hands-on labs today. And then alternatively, you can also use Autonomous Database in Oracle Cloud. You can also sign up for a free workspace on the customer evaluation only instance, apex.oracle.com, and you can perform the hands-on labs there as well. So in this workshop, let us use Apex Service. So, and then we'll perform lab 1 onwards. So let's move on. In the browser, let's first go ahead and then log into the free tier account. So I already have my Oracle Cloud free tier account. But to start with, let's go to cloud.oracle.com and I'll sign in using my cloud account name, and then we'll perform the next steps. So let's first review option 1, Apex Service. So if you are using this particular option, Apex Service, then you need to first create your Oracle Cloud free tier account. Then once the sign-up process is complete, you'll be automatically logged into the OCI console. Then in case if you have closed the browser, you can always open the browser and then go to cloud.oracle.com, and then you can enter your username, password, cloud account name, and perform the next steps, right? Alternatively, go to cloud.oracle.com, enter your cloud account name, click the next button, and then you enter your username and password, and then click sign in. Then you will be perform the next steps of provisioning an Apex instance. So in the OCI console, if you click the left navigation menu, and then you'll be navigating to developer services here, and then select Apex application development or Apex instances. Then at the top of this Apex instances page, you just click create Apex service button. Then select the always free option, enter a password for the admin password, and then click create Apex service. Then you proceed with the next steps where you click create Apex service, and then you finally see the create instance details display. Here, initially it shows provisioning, and later on you see the available option. And then finally, before using a new service, you must set up your Apex service instance by completing two tasks. You need to create an initial Apex workspace and then create an Apex user account. So you'll be clicking Launch Apex button, and then that will take you to the Apex instance administration page, Apex administration services page, where you'll be entering the same password as you used initially, and then click sign into administration. Then you click create workspace here, and then you will choose between new schema and existing schema. In this workshop, you choose new schema, and then you proceed with the next step where you input the workspace name, username, and password, and then finally click create workspace. Then on the instance administration page, you see the workspace name link in the success message. You just click that one and then log into the workspace. Finally, you will be logged into the Apex workspace. So let's perform these steps. So I already have my cloud account name. So I'm entering, I enter the cloud account name and then click next. Then click continue and enter my username and password and then click sign in. Now this is the OCI console. And then if you click this navigation menu with the hamburger here and then navigate to developer services here, you see under developer services, Apex application development, click this one. And then let's click create Apex service. Now provide the basic information here and then make sure you choose the always free. You turn on the always free option here and then you enter the password and then confirm the password. Enter the password here and then for confirm password, scroll down a bit and then click create Apex service. So now that the service is available, let's click launch Apex. And now this opens up the Apex administration services page. So let's enter the same password as you entered earlier and click sign into administration. Now let's click create workspace and then choose new schema here. Enter the workspace name and then enter the password and then click create workspace. Now this creates the Apex workspace for us where we can build the Apex applications. On the screen, you see low code here. So let's click this one. And then you can now log in to the Apex workspace by entering the password again. Click sign in. You're now in the Apex workspace. This completes the getting started section where we have chosen option 1 to create an Apex service. Then we provision an Apex workspace. And then let's move on to lab 1. Lab 1 is where you create an Apex application. And lab 1 includes 3 steps, 3 tasks: creating the Apex app, running the application and sign in. And then task 3 is observation. So let's perform lab 1. So let's move to the Apex Workspace homepage. You see App Builder, SQL Workshop, Team Development, and Gallery. Let's click App Builder. This is where you'll be creating your Apex applications. And then you see Create a New App, Install a Starter or Sample App. Let's click Create a New App and then select New Application. You see 3 different options here: New Application, From a File, and Starter App. So we need to create a new application. So let's click New Application. Then enter a name for the application. Let's enter Apex Social Media. And then let's come down, scroll down a little bit. And for pages, let's edit the home page. Let's click Edit button for the home page here and enter a name. Let's enter timeline for this. And then let's save the changes. Then if you see here, there are features. So we need to make sure that the application can be installed as a progressive web application. So let's select the install progressive web app feature under features. And then scroll down a bit and you see here, create application. So let's click create application. Now you see the application creation progress. Once the application is created, you see 3 different pages in your Apex application. You see global page, you have timeline page, and you have login page. The global page is we will not be using this in this lab, and the timeline page is where we'll be doing most of the work in this lab. And then the login page is the default configure to use to your workspace account credentials. So now let's click run application and run the application. Now enter the username and password and then click sign in. You can now see the beginning of your application. If you click this navigation menu, click this hamburger, you see timeline, and this is how it looks like at the end of lab 1. Now let's go to the hands-on lab guide. So task 3 is observations, where you see the navigation enabled in your application. So let's move on to lab 2. So in lab two, you'll be creating the database objects and the data required for the application. So you'll be using Quick SQL, which is a SQL workshop component. So there are four tasks involved in this, and task one is reviewing the data model and generating DDL using Quick SQL. Task two is creating database objects. Task three is running the script to create database objects. And task four is where you create a custom table constraint. Let's first review task one. In this application, you need two tables, basically posts and reactions. And we'll be prefixing the database objects, the tables with SM, right? SM stands for social media. So these two tables have a primary key in each and a foreign key relationship linking the reactions table to the post table. There will also be a constraint added to ensure that users can only react to a post once. Okay, so let's move on and go to SQL Workshop, Utilities, and then Quick SQL, and then perform the next steps. So let's go to App Builder, then let's go to SQL Workshop here, go to Utilities, and then select Quick SQL. Now, the Quick SQL opens up for you, and then let's go to the hands-on lab guide. So task two is creating database objects. So what you need to do is copy and paste this shorthand syntax, the Quick SQL model into the left side, and then click Generate SQL, right? So we need to make sure that the tabbing is maintained so that all the database objects gets generated. So let's first copy this code, and then let's go to Quick SQL. Let's paste it here, and then let's click Generate SQL. So the SQL syntax is generated for you. Then the next step for us is to save the script and then run the database objects. So let's do that. Let's save the SQL script and then give it a name. Let's see, database objects, and then click Save Script. Now you need to review and run the script. Now let's click Review and Run, and then let's click Run. You see that there are 5 statements here. Let's click Run Now button. So 5 statements processed and 5 are successfully run. So the two tables are created, posts and reactions. Since we prefer that users react to a post only one time, we need to add a constraint to the SM reactions table. So this will facilitate the proper functioning of a database operation later on in this workshop. So what we need to do, let's go to SQL Workshop. Let's go to Object Browser. And then click Tables. The object browser has been redesigned in Apex 23.1. So if you see here, this has changed a lot. So let's click Tables and then expand here. You see SM posts and SM reactions. Now, after selecting SM reactions, let's click Constraints. And then let's click Create. So we will be creating a unique constraint here. So let's retain the constraint name as is. And let's choose the constraint type as unique. And then for unique column 1, let's choose post ID. And then for unique column 2, let's choose created by. And then you also see the SQL statement here. Let's click Apply. Now this clicking Apply will create the constraint for you. So this completes lab 2, where you have built the database objects, you have reviewed the data model, you generated DDL, then you created the database objects, then you created a custom table constraint as well. So let's move on to lab 3, where you need to get familiar with the Apex developer tools. So if you're familiar with Apex Developer Toolbar and Page Designer, you can actually skip this lab and go to lab 4 directly. If you're not familiar with Apex Developer Toolbar and Page Designer, let's go to the application runtime environment, and you see here the developer toolbar. We have page 1 here. Clicking this page 1 will actually take you to the page designer, which you see this is where you will be editing your page components. You'll make all of the changes and get your application built out here. So you see here there are 3 panes here. One is the left pane, the central pane, and the right pane. The left side, you see this is rendering, and this is dynamic actions, and this is processing, and this is shared components, page shared components, right? And this is actually a tree view of the components that are on the page, and it can also contain nested feature nodes with more parts within each component. Now, selecting any of these would actually display the attributes which are actually displayed in the property editor towards the right side. Now, the central pane or the middle pane is where what we call as a layout, and we also have page search and help here. So this is actually divided into 2 sections. If you see here, the bottom section has regions, items, and buttons. You can also change the layout here. For example, you go to here and then you see layout. If you want to make this into 2 pane mode, you can do that. But let's move this back to 3 pane mode. So this completes lab 3. Now let's move to lab 4, where we customize the application homepage. So in this lab, you will take advantage of the low-code development by customizing the social media app declaratively. You learn to navigate and modify the application and page properties. So let's expand all tasks. So we do have here 2 sections: remove the navigation menu and remove the breadcrumb menu. And optionally, we have alternate time saver, as I explained earlier. If you want to skip lab 1 to lab 4, you can do so. So you can just download the starter app here, install it, and then move on to start performing from lab 5. But let's perform task 1 and task 2 in lab 4 right now. So the first thing is to remove the navigation menu. So how do you do that? You need to go to Page Designer, and then you select Page 1 timeline here. And then you look at the page details on the right side. So let's search for navigation. So you have navigation menu. And then let's turn on override user interface level switch. And then let's accept the list option, which is a default. Do not show the navigation menu list as is. So this completes task 1. Let's move on. The next one is removing the breadcrumb region. So since our application is going to be a single page app, we don't want to have a breadcrumb bar at the top of the page. So let's go ahead and then delete this. So let's go to the rendering tree. And then let's select under components, we have the breadcrumb bar, and then you right click Apex Social Media, and then right click and then just click delete. So now that we have performed 2 things here, task 1 and task 2, let's click save and run to see how the application would look like now. So this is how the application looks like after completing task 1 and task 2 in this lab. So with both the navigation list and the breadcrumb removed, this is a nice clean slate to proceed with. Now let's move to the hands-on lab guide once again. And now let's get started with lab 5, building the page regions. So this particular lab has got 6 tasks: adding a form region, cleaning up and configuring the form UI page components, rearranging and customizing few components, creating a button, creating a save button, and then configuring the submit process to insert a new record into the table. So let's move on one by one with the task ones first. So what exactly are we going to do here? we're going to actually in this particular workshop, we're going to create two regions. The first one is a form region, and the second one is a cards region. We'll be building the cards region in Leipzig. So form region will present a UI which will enable users to choose an image file from their device and enter an associated comment for the particular post. Then in Lab 6, you'll be building a cards region, which will show photos or the images in a grid sort of an arrangement as they get posted into the SM post table by the way of this form region that you're creating right now. So the card region will serve as our scaffold for other features such as displaying the post comment, reaction counts, as well as buttons for reacting and liking a post, and also finally enabling a user to delete their own post. So let's first build the form region, which is task 1. Let's go to the page designer, and then you see here components. So under components, you see body, right click body, and then click select create region. And then you need to enter a title here. So enter post for the title, and the type is form. So select form for type, and then for the form region, you need to, this will be tied to the SM post table that we already created. So let's select for under source for table name, let's select SM post. So select this, and then, yeah. So right now we have selected the table name. So let's save and run the page to see how the form page would look like. So this is how the form page looks like for you at this point of time. We'll be making some more changes. So we'll be cleaning up and configuring the form UI page components. So that is task 2. Let's go here. Task 2 is cleaning up and configuring the form UI page components. So let's go to the page designer, and then let's select file name, created by, updated by, then right click and then select delete. Now we want to change some parameters of the remaining page items in the form. So for the post comment, P1 post comment item, let's update this. Let's go to post comment and to choose a text field. For label, enter post. Let's delete the comment. So this should set for us, enter post. And then now let's save and run the page to see how it looks like. So this is a bit clean now. So let's move to do some more changes. So we have latitude and longitude items, which we don't need to be seen at all. So we will hide them in the next step. So in page designer, let's go to page designer. So let's select latitude and longitude and choose the type to be hidden. Now, next we want to make some more changes, to the file blob page items. So let's select file blob and then change this to type to file browse. Set the label to photo. And then for settings, for display as, let's change this to select block drop zone. And for drop zone title, select enter share photo, thing like this. And then scroll down a bit. And for storage type, for select blob column specified in item source attribute. And then let's select for MIME type column, enter file MIME. And for file name, it is file name. So I made some changes now. And also, let's move the two items, latitude and longitude, under the P1 ID page item. So let's change these two things. Let's drag and drop them, move them under P1 ID. So we have ID, post comment, and file blob now. So let's make some more changes to the file blob. For file type, let's scroll down a bit. For file types, if you choose here, click and select Help, you see image and image slash asterisk, so which indicates that only image files should be accepted. So let's use this image. Let's just copy paste this guy, copy and paste 5 times. And max file size, we need to specify the max file size that is allowed, which is let's say 10,000 KB. Now let's save the changes and run the page to see how it looks like. So we have a post here, and we have a photo, we have a share a photo, and click choose a file button as well. So the form should not be visible to the user initially, and so we need to make some changes to the settings so that it is in a different page position where it is hidden from view when the page is loaded. Later on, we'll make some changes to the other settings and then create a button which will be used to make this form visible to the user as a model form. So let's first move the P1 post comment page item under the P1 file blob item to improve the UX. So let's go to page designer and then move the P1 post comment to be underneath file blob. Then let's move on to do the next step, which is step 2. So let's go here and then select the post region here. And then here in the property editor, let's go to region and then go to layout and make some changes here. Enter position. Let's select this to be dialogues, drawers, and pop-ups. Then in the appearance section, let's make some more changes. Let's change the template to inline dialog. And then let's click template options here and then select auto height and then set the size to none and then set the heading level to be H1 and then click OK. So this should complete what we need to configure for the form region. And then now let's save and run the application. So there is nothing to see here, which is okay. We changed the form region to be an inline dialog. So this will be hidden on page load, as I already explained. Inline dialogs need to be opened either by a button click or custom JavaScript. So we need to create a button, which we'll do in the next step. So let's move on. Let's move to the next task, which is task 4, creating a button to open the post dialog with the dynamic action. So let's go to page designer. Now right click components here and then click create a button. Then let's give a name to the button, add post, and then hit enter. So you'll see the label is set to add post. Then let's change the layout position to after logo. Then let's make some more changes. Then let's scroll down a bit here. And for button template, let's choose this text with icon. And then for appearance, CSS classes, let's enter new post button. And then for icon, let's enter FA plus. And then under behavior for action, set this to defined by dynamic action. So to make this button open the post region, which is an inline dialog, we need to create an on-click dynamic action. So to do this, let's right-click this button and then click create dynamic action. So this opens up, this creates a dynamic action for us. Now you see new and show here. So let's make some changes. So for new, let's change this to open post dialog. And then let's make some more changes. So which is the show one. So for this, change the identification action to what does it do? It will open the region. for us, and then set the affected elements to be region, and the region is post for us. So this completes the form region pretty much. Now let's save and run the page. Now you see add post button here. So let's click this, and then you see an inline dialog, so which opens the post form for us. Now we need a button for the user to actually save the post that they make. So to do this, we need to go to Page Designer, then right click this post region, and then click Create Button. So this creates a button for us. Let's give it a name, and then set the attributes, set the properties for that. So let's give the name as the button name as Save. The label is set to save. Now let's change the layout position to next, and appearance is hot. Let's turn on the appearance to be hot, and then let's change the template options. Let's click use template defaults, and then for size, let's change this to large, and for width, let's change this to stretch, and then let's click OK. And then for CSS classes, let's make this as post button, and then let's for behavior, for action, again they should be defined by dynamic action, and then because it needs to perform database action, so this is SQL insert action. So makes a couple of changes now to the save button. Let's see what else we need to do. Then to enable this form to be able to save the new post data, we need a dynamic action and then a page process that does that particular work. So right click the save button, and then click create dynamic action. So the dynamic action is created for us here. If you see here, new, and then show, let's make some changes, set the name to submit post, right? So then a couple of steps. There are two steps which are optional. So let's move to the hands-on lab guide. Then let's click task 5 here. If we scroll down, so we have performed until this. We have created a dynamic action and then change the name to submit post. Then there are two optional steps to prevent users from posting blank rows. You need to you need to enter a JavaScript expression. So what we need to do is go to Page Designer, and for client-side condition, select JavaScript expression, and then come back here, copy this JavaScript expression from the box, and then you paste it here. So now let's go back here. So we have performed step 5 and step 6 as well. Then step 7. So let's go back to the dynamic action and click the show option here, and we need to make some changes here. So for identification action, let's change this to what is supposed to do. This is supposed to submit the page. So let's select submit page, and then for request button name, this is the save button. Then let's make I think that's pretty much. Then ensure the show processing turned on. So we did that. So this completes task 5, which is creating a save button and making a couple of changes. Then let's move on to task 6, which is configuring the submit process to insert a new record into the table. So we now created a button and also created a dynamic action. Now we need to configure the submit process. So what we need to do is go to the Page Designer tab again, and then go to processing here. and then click processing, right click processing, and then click create process. Then we need to make a couple of changes here. So we need to first change the type to form automatic row processing DML. Then we need to set the form region to the post region. Then we need to give it a name. Let's give it a name as insert post. Pick this up. And then we have success message. So let's scroll down here and use a success message to be posted. So we have made a couple of changes. We created a process here and set the form region to post region. Then we gave it a name. Then we also entered the success message. So this form will now insert the records into the SM post table, but we will not be able to see them on the page until we complete the next lab. However, you can run the application at this point of time and select an image file, or and then add a comment and click the post button to save the record insert, or to insert the record. So let's save and run the page. So you can click add post now, and you can choose a file, you choose a photo, and then you can post that, and that will show you the posted message. So let's click choose a file. Let's upload a photo. Let's click this and then upload this and enter a post. Post or something like that, and then click save. This shows the posted message for you. Now let's move on to lab 6, where we build a cards region that can query the data the way we need it. So this lab includes 2 tasks. One is create a cards region, and the second one is configure the attributes of the cards region. So let's first go ahead and then complete task 1, where we'll create a cards region. So let's go to Page Designer and then right click body, and then click create region. Then enter a title. In this case, enter timeline. And then for type, let's select cards. And then for source, let's select SQL query. And then we need to input the SQL query. So let's go to the hands-on lab guide. And if you scroll here, you see the SQL statement. So let's copy the SQL statement, go to Page Designer, and then click this guy and enter SQL here, and then say OK. So we entered SQL now, and then let's scroll down a bit, and up here in CSS classes, let's enter t-chat, scroll down a bit, and for advanced static ID, let's enter timeline. So this completes task 1. Now let's perform task 2. Let's go to the hands-on lab guide. Task 2, you will configure the attributes of the cards region. So let's go to Page Designer, and then let's select attributes here. And then for card, let's select the primary key column 1 as ID, and title, let's select, scroll down a bit. And for titles, let's select the column is username, and then scroll down a bit. And for subtitle, let's select this as post date, scroll down a bit. And then for body column, let's select comment text, and then scroll down a bit. Icon and badge. For icon source, let's select initials, and icon column, let's select username. Now scroll down a bit here, and for media, Let's select for source blob column. And then for blob column, let's select file blob. And for position, it is first. And for appearance, it is widescreen. And for sizing, let's make it as cover and scroll down a bit. And we have CSS classes to enter. So let's enter the CSS classes. Let's go to the hands-on lab guide, scroll down a bit, and we'll see here. So enter select disable, go to page designer and paste this one. And for image description, again, we need to copy and paste from here, ampersand comment underscore text period. So let's copy this and then go to image description and then enter that. Make sure the period also is copied and pasted here. Then scroll down a bit. For MIME type column, let's select this as file MIME. So let's see what else is pending. If you scroll down, so this completes the region. So we can now click save and run the page. So let's click save and run. Okay, so there is error which is showing up. I guess that is about the primary key column. So let's set this again. And then now let's save and run the page. And now you can see the post that you have made earlier. So you see the image as well as the comment text. So in this case, we have posted the image twice and added comments. So we're seeing two entries. Now let's move on to the next lab. We will be customizing the card in order to add a reaction button and a delete button for a user to like a post or delete a post respectively. So in the first step, we will be creating a like button, which will display the current count of likes next to a heart icon. User will be able to see the number of likes in total, and they will be able to click the button and add their like to the post. If the user already has liked the post, then the effect of clicking it again will remove the like. So let's go to the hands-on lab guide first. And this is lab 7, create action buttons. There are two tasks in this. Task 1 is create a like button and task 2 is create a delete button. Let's expand all tasks and let's go to task 1, create a like button. So we need to go to the timeline cards region, right click on actions and choose create action. So let's go to page designer and then we have timeline actions. So right click actions and say create action. Now we see here an entry of a button type. Now for identification label, let's go to the hands-on lab guide and copy this one and then come to page designer. Let's paste it here. Now, if you see here, this is an Apex string substitution syntax, and it will render the count of reactions as the label for this button on each post. The reactions column is defined in the query for this cards region. Now, we now need this button to have a URL link so that can be hooked up to JavaScript later so that the database operation can be performed. So let's set the link type to redirect to URL. Now let's click the target button and then we need to copy and paste from the hands-on lab guide. So let's go here and copy this whole thing. Then go to page designer. And then for URL, let's enter this and then click OK. And next, we need to configure the appearance of this button by setting the display type to text with icon. And for icon, let's go to the hands-on lab guide and copy this entire thing, including the period, go to page designer, and then paste it here. Okay. The user reaction CSS column is defined in the query for this cards region. Now for the CSS classes property, let's enter js-hot-button, which will be used by our dynamic action JavaScript later. So these are the settings that we have made so far. Now we don't need to run the app just yet, as the button will generate a JavaScript error because we haven't added the code to the application to make it work yet. Now let's create a delete button similar to the previous task. Let's go to timeline actions, right click actions and click create action. And for label, let's enter delete. And then for layout position, let's set it to secondary so that it's on the right side of the card. And for link type, let's change this to redirect to URL. And then for target, let's click this. Let's go to the hands-on lab guide. And then let's copy this URL along with the period, and then come back and then paste it here and then say, okay. Now, let's make some changes to the appearance for display type. This should be text with icon. And for icon, let's go to the hands-on lab guide again, and then let's copy this one and then paste it here for icon. For server-side condition, let's define the server-side condition that controls whether or not this button shows up per card. So for this, let's change the type to expression. And this is PL/SQL. And for PL/SQL expression, let's go to the hands-on lab guide and copy paste this PL/SQL expression. Come here to the page designer and copy paste this. So this particular expression will compare the query column value returned to the currently signed in Apex user. This colon prefixed variable syntax is called bind variable syntax in PL/SQL. If this evaluates to true for each row or card, then Apex will render the button, otherwise it won't. Now let's move to the hands-on lab guide to perform the next task, task 3, which is adding JavaScript to the page for the card button. So we will be providing the Apex page with custom JavaScript that will be invoked by the URL from the cards button target link to the dynamic actions that we will create in the next lab. So we need to go to page designer and then let's perform the step. So in Page Designer, select Page 1 timeline, and in the property editor, let's scroll down a bit, and we need to paste the JavaScript into this execute when page load section. So let's go to the hands-on lab guide and then copy this one, then come to Page Designer, and then let's paste it here. Now let's expand this. Now, if you see here in this script, you see there are references to P1 action ID with a squiggly underline, which we have not created yet. So we need this page item P1 action ID to be on the page so that this JavaScript can store the particular card ID when a user clicks either buttons, which in turn will execute either the like or the delete operations from the URL link targets. So now let's close this, click OK. Now let's create and configure P1 action ID page item. So right click timeline cards region, click create page item. And let's change this to P1 underscore action underscore ID. We also want to change the type to hidden page item. And then let's turn off the value protected button off. We need to unprotect the this hidden page item because we'll be writing to it via our JavaScript. Now let's go back to page 1 timeline entry, and let's scroll down here, and then let's click execute when page loads, and we can now see the JavaScript. The code editor looks clean with no concerns now. Now let's save and run the page to see how the application is shaping up. Let's enter the password again and then click sign in. Until now, the like and the delete buttons are available on the cards, but clicking these buttons doesn't currently have any visible effect. And behind the scenes, the URL link targets are actually calling the JavaScript on the page and are setting the P1 action ID. But we need to create a dynamic action with a custom event for each to complete the circuit. So let's now go to the hands-on lab guide. And if you see here, lab 8, It is about adding dynamic actions. We have 4 tasks here. In the first task, you create a dynamic action. Second task, you create the true actions with the like button. And task 3, you will be creating a dynamic action with a custom action delete event. And then in task 4, you create the delete button true actions. So let's go to page designer first, and then go to dynamic actions, right click events, and then click create dynamic action. Now let's enter a name here, action like, and then for when event, let's make this as a custom, and let's enter action like for custom event as well. And for selection type, it is JavaScript expression. And for JavaScript expression, let us make it as document. Now let's move on to task 2. So in task 2, you create true actions for the like button. So you need to edit the true action and then identification name. You need to enter the details here and then set action to execute JavaScript code and perform the rest of the steps. So let's first copy this one. And then let's go to page designer. And then for true action name, let's enter this. Right. Then for action, let's make this as execute JavaScript code. And for code, let's copy paste from the hands-on lab guide. So let's come here in step 3, let's copy this. And then let's go here and paste in code. Now, right click true and create another action. So let's go here, create true action. So we need another true action to the database work and store the user reaction. So we perform that. Now let's name this as well, like do database work. So go to page designer, and then for name, let's enter this. For execute for the action, it should be execute server-side code. And for server-side code, let's copy and paste the PL SQL code from the hands-on lab guide. So let's go here. This is step 6. So let's copy this and then go to page designer and paste this in the PL SQL code. Now, for page items to submit, let's go to the hands-on lab guide. So this particular PL SQL code that you just copy pasted will insert the reaction for this user, for this post into the SM reactions table. So let's go to step 7, and then let's copy the page items and come here into page designer for items to submit. Okay. Now let's go to the hands-on lab guide. So what did we do? We have created one more true action here, and then we changed the set the action to execute server-side code, and we copied the PL SQL code. This code will insert the reaction for this user for this post into the SM reactions table. If it already exists as determined by the constraint that we created when we actually build the table, then the record will be deleted. So let's go down, and then let's see, then we should be able to now like our own post. So let's go ahead and then save and run the page. So let's run the page. So you can actually click the like button and see what happens. You can in fact query the SM reactions table, and clicking the like again on your post will actually delete the record. Next, we need to create a dynamic action with a custom action delete event. Actually, this is covered in task 3. Task 3 and task 4 are optional. They only enable the user to delete their own post and are very much similar to the previous 2 tasks. So let's perform task 3, and let's go to page designer, right click custom, and Let's click create dynamic action. Now let's enter a name. This time it's action delete. And then for custom event, let's mention action delete. And for selection type, this is JavaScript expression. And then for JavaScript expression, this is a document. Next, we need to create the delete button true action. So let's go to the hands-on lab. This is covered in task 4. We need to configure the true actions for the action delete dynamic action. 3 actions desired here: confirm deletion, invoke the database work necessary to delete the desired post, and update the UI on the client by removing the deleted post. So let's go to page designer, and then let's click show, and let's update here for name. Let's go to the hands-on lab guide, and then let's copy this for name. Let's enter for identification name, and for action, let's make this as confirm. And then for title, let's enter are you sure? And for message, let's copy paste from here. You're about to delete this post. Are you sure? So let's enter the message here. And let's move on. Let's go to the next step. Now we need another true action to the database work and delete the post record from the tables. Let's go here and right click true action and then create true action. And let's go to the hands-on lab guide, and this time delete do database work. So let's go to page designer. Let's give this name. Action is execute server-side code. So this is PL SQL. So let's copy the PL SQL code from the hands-on lab guide. So here, so let's copy this. This code will delete the post from SM reactions table based on the logged in user. So let's go here, copy paste the code. And then for items to submit, it's just P1 action ID. P1 action ID. Okay. Then we need to create one more true action. So let's scroll down. And if you see, finally, after the row is deleted, we want to remove the post from the timeline UI. Copy the name as is, and then let's go to page designer, go to true, right click and click create true action, enter a name for this, and then this is execute JavaScript code, and then we need to paste the code. So let's go to hands-on lab guide, and if you see here, copy paste this code, and then go to code box here, paste this one. We should be able to now delete our own post. So let's save and run the page. Let's click the delete button, and you see this dialog. Are you sure you're about to delete this post? Are you sure? Let's click OK. So the post is deleted. And apart from this, you can also go to SQL Workshop Object Browser and confirm from the table as well. So far, we completed lab 1 through lab 8. Then there is lab 9, which is an optional lab, cleaning up the application. So basically, you need to give some final touch up of the application to improve the aesthetics. And you'll be learning how to customize the CSS. So when we like a post, we should be able to see the heart in red color. And also, if you're using this application on a small screen, something like a mobile device, it would be better if the add post button was relocated to the bottom right of the screen. So we can do this with the 2 small blocks of inline CSS on the page level. So for this, let's go to the page designer, and then we are in rendering. So page one timeline, and we see here CSS inline. Now let's go to the hands-on lab, and let's copy this code, the CSS code, into the inline box. Let's go here and then paste this here, right? So let's move on to the next step, which is task 2. Now you need to clean up the file browse page item. So let's go to Page Designer once again, and let's select a P1 file block page item. So this is the one, and let's see what we need to do. We need to change the appearance template to hidden, and set the layout label column span to 0. Change the appearance template to hidden, and then label column span to 0. Next, let's click template options, and let's select under general stretch form item. This improves the alignment. So let's click OK. Now let's move to the hands-on lab guide. We need to enter for CSS classes and for icon select under appearance. So let's copy this. Let's go to appearance. Scroll down a bit, and for CSS classes, let's enter this. And for icon, let's select this one. So this one, let's go to icon and then paste this. So we made the changes now, and with this, we arrived at a working and significantly functional low-code Apex application. So let's save and run the page. And then let's click this heart icon. It turns red. Now let's upload 2 more images. Let's click Add Post. Choose a file, and let's go with this. And let's enter comments. Save this, and let's do one more. And let's have this badge. Patience, and then save. Now let's like this and like this as well. And this completes this workshop, build a social media app using Oracle Apex. And finally, Apex training and certification. If you're looking for Apex training and certification, we've got the Apex Foundations course, we've got the Apex Professional course, and we have got Apex certification. So to learn the fundamentals of Apex, you need to take up the Apex Foundations course, which is a 3.5+ hour expert training delivered by the Apex product team. So enroll and learn for free. Go to apex.oracle.com/go/foundations. And upon completing this course, you'll get an Apex Foundations badge. Then to become an Apex specialist, you need to take up the Apex Developer Professional course. This is soup to nuts covering complete low-code application development with Apex. This is around 13 hours of expert training delivered by the Apex product team. And also there are hands-on labs associated with this learning path. So enroll and learn for free today. Go to apex.oracle.com/go/professional. Now to get Apex certified, visit apex.oracle.com/go/certification. So there are 4 steps involved to become an Apex Cloud Developer Certified Professional. First, you need to complete the Apex Developer Professional course. Then you perform the Apex Developer Professional hands-on labs, prepare for the Apex Cloud Developer Professional exam, and finally, register and pass the Apex Cloud Developer Professional online certification exam. And if you want to learn more about Apex, visit apex.oracle.com. Everything about Oracle Apex is apex.oracle.com. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And thank you so much for joining in today. You have a very good rest of the day.